my outer world is a direct reflection of my inner world. And if I'm not happy 100%, means I didn't unfold yet, means I'm living the plan B. I'm not living my plan A. I believe that in a business life especially, people are busy with the material organization of daily survival, and we forget that we are here for a purpose.
Welcome to Season 16 of Purposeful Empathy, a show that is dedicated to amplifying the voices of people from across the globe who understand that the world needs more empathy and are doing something about it. Thanks so much for watching or listening. Enjoy the show. Welcome to a new episode of Purposeful Empathy. Today I am joined by Elena Amber, who is an award-winning author of The Gift of Sensitivity, also whose doctoral research merges behavioral psychology, economics, and neuroscience to examine what helps or hinders sustainable consumption. On her LinkedIn profile, she writes, and I absolutely love this when I read it. She wrote, "Emotional capital is needed for decision-making processes and for leaders to employ empathy, self-awareness, and social skills to foster sustainable and ethical business practices. By prioritizing emotional skills, professionals across industries can foster innovation and resilience while ensuring that their organizations are profitable and constructive forces in their communities. That's the future I dream of." I absolutely love that. Welcome to the show, Elena.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Anita.
Wonderful. So when I read that about you and your work, I want to start the conversation by asking what calls you to your work. Is there a backstory?
The whole life, of course, it is a backstory. Like in any case, I think. What happens with me that my life was divided by periods, which I don't really understand how do they connected to each other. And during my PhD, actually, it's all merged somehow. So I've got 4 master's degrees, and I started from biology, and then was drawn to psychology, and then to business management and business administration. My background, mainly business, which I left about 2012. And it was a period in my life, I was about my 40s, and I think, it's a period which many of us went through. So it was kind of a call that I need to change my life. So I relocated to Cyprus, and I decided to come back to psychology. I wrote about that by the way, in The Baby, in The Gift of Sensitivity. This is 8 years stories in there. So I came back to psychology. I opened the psychology club here in Cyprus, and I decided to practice any kind of modern and ancient as well practices, which says that there is something in us. There is something more than usual human life. At that time, I was already a mom. I had a career. I've been married 2 times. And, it was not enough for me. And I thought, oh my God, is this it? Should be something. So I decided to go inwards. And because lonely journey is not something which is very fancy. So I organized people around me. So we went together through different sessions, and we practiced things like family constellations, trauma therapy, breath work, different type of shamanic work, channeling, whatever, anything, any of the techniques, except we did not try plant medicine. I respect that, but I just didn't felt any call towards that. So that work was pretty successful. We've been recognized by European Transpersonal Association, American Transpersonal Association, and I thought this is the life. I thought, I will do this forever. But at the last campus, which we held in one winter, I think it was 2000. 19, yeah, 2019. I just suddenly understood that no, I need to do something else. And it was very sudden for me because we just finished the campus, the co-president of American Transpersonal Association. He was with us here in Cyprus, teach my people. It was very good. Everybody been happy, released all their traumas and it was epic. And I remember the celebration. I was sitting and just watching that. And all of a sudden, just like this, it was an idea inside of me. This is not the end. You need to go further. And I did my meditations. And in the meditation, I understand that I need to go and make a scientific work because I need to deliver my messages at the scientific level so more people understand that. Because, spirituality, this is something which is really cool, although it's a shadow uh, of a glimpse around it and all those shadow stories like you need to reach the 12th level until you will be connected with you or all those organizations. So it's a lot of fluffy stuff around. I love to be, because my background is business, love to be direct and straight. So this is it. I started my PhD.
I love that journey because it really situates you on a path, and I resonate with so much that you've just described. And I also, somebody told me, and I wish I could remember who, so I could always give that person credit for saying it, but I feel like you and I are both interested in whispering, or maybe even louder than whispering, to the people who on the weekend understand what they're about when they go on a walk in the mountains or through a forest and are petting their dog and volunteering, and then forget on Monday morning when they're busy working on their Excel spreadsheets or a new slide deck. I don't know if that resonates for you, but I'm interested in bringing more people into this conversation around inner development for outer impact. So does that land for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The idea which forced me towards the journey was the idea is that my outer world is a direct reflection of my inner world.
Mm.
And if I'm not happy 100%, means I didn't unfold yet, means I'm living the plan B. I'm not living my plan A, means there is something else which should be out from there. So absolutely, I believe that in a business life, especially, people are busy with the material organization of daily survival, and we forget that we are here for a purpose.
Yeah, and that touches me as well because I talk about in the preface of my book what I call the nudges from the universe. So, like little things that happen, pivots in my life. And I feel a little bit privileged because I was able to pursue the pivots and the nudges. I either had the courage or I was unafraid of swimming upstream contra culture, but not everybody has that opportunity. But those who do, sometimes I find that even though they are getting their little whispers and their nudges, don't make the necessary changes or don't take the risks. What do you say to those people?
I would say to those people that there is a great news, great flow of different news are going on the earth. And I would say them that life is already changed. If they did not notice, they are welcome to understand. But because of my background and because of, I'm in sustainability, and sustainability has three pillars, which is environmental, social, and economic. So through my research, I deeply touch all three topics: environmental and ecological and all the climate crisis, biodiversity loss, those stuff. Also the social questions, which we are living in, inequalities and all those things. And economic as well, ecological economics and degrowth. This is where I stand for. So in all those three areas, changes became so so I wouldn't say big, they unfolded so nicely that we already forced toward the inner change.
Mm.
How is it so, you would ask me? For example, from 2020 already, OECD, they published the well-being framework and they started to check countries in terms of well-being because GDP is not only the measure, right? In 2019, the Inner Development Goals movement was born and organized in Sweden. And now we have more than 1,000 smaller hubs. I hold one of them in Cyprus. And you do?
Yes, in Montreal.
Oh my God.
Will you be going to the conference next month?
I will be online this year. We were jealous, but because I'm super busy with my publications. But the next one, I hope to be in there.
Okay.
So yeah, you see so many similarities. And they are doing so well. And they really connects practitioners. When I joined the team in there, I saw all my old friends from Uritas, from all those shamanic works, and trauma therapy, and psychologists and scientists. But now it's not just small dots. Now it's really network, but also not only the network within one discipline. So it's not only within psychology and inner development. The economics is in there because people saying that we need to change the way how we live. An environmental movement, all those climate activists is in there. So, and this is not only about inner development goals. There are many movements like that. You could think about eco villages and those networks. You can find all of them online, and you will see that more than 10,000 different small ecological villages, all within the world. Netherlands and Bali, everywhere. So this is happening. This is done. This is happening now. And I'm so happy to see that the balance was changed already, and so happy to be in as well with my work.
So welcome everyone. Welcome to this
Yes.
new moment in human history. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned happiness a few times already because I'm teaching a new class in a business school called Happiness Means Business. And I want to explore with you. I know that your research explores consumer behavior. And as I learned from one of the articles that I saw online, that sustainable consumption can actually create positive emotions and positive self-image. It can increase your consumer happiness and satisfy the needs for connectedness. So can you say a little bit more about that? Like, can consumer behavior be good for us?
Yeah. We are, as a human beings, we actually social beings, right? And we want to live in such a manner that everybody are happy around. Actually, if you are happy within unhappy people, this is something not really good. And empaths cannot do that because we want everybody to be happy around. And once we see people are fulfilling their lives, they are, doing well financially in families, in their work, we are happy as well because this is the level of energy we all share with each other. Because of that, people would like to do things which we traditionally consider it as virtuous. We love to be kind to each other. We love to support each other. And we want to do things which are right for everybody. That means if we are thinking about sustainable consumption, which I know will be good for the environment, I feel good about that. I'm doing the right thing, right?
Mm.
If I'm doing something which will protect youth and color lives, indigenous lives over there, buying from this supplier or giving my money to this particular bank because they support ecological movements, I feel good about that. That's why if we are doing something for the greater good, actually fills us with happiness. Happiness, of course, is a concept of mind, right? And when we think about life, we need to think about how good do we feel, not how happy we are. But good feelings, they are consequences of our actions and our daily habits. If those habits and actions support other people and, provide, give more, we actually feel fulfilled. We feel that we live meaningful life. And happy life in most of the research which are recent, let's say the last decade, they would say meaningful life. This is what people dream about.
I completely agree with that. Now, also, I've noticed through some of what you've written that you've discovered that academic research shows that up to 90% of our purchases are impulses, which fuels overconsumption and this endless economic growth. And you have mentioned already just now that you embrace a post-growth mindset. But that demands not just an idealistic vision, it actually requires real change in consumer habits. So, how do we do that?
Actually, this is very true. Depends on the product category, depends on the country. The percentage of impulsive purchases would be different, but up to 90, and that does not only for individualistic North countries. It's all within the world because we acculturated to the consumption worldwide culture. This is interesting because impulsivity, which is based on our emotions, this is a part of us. This is who we are, right? And when we feel that urge to buy means we feel deeply emotionally connected. And emotional connections, this is something which we need to nurture, because if you will read the research about suicides and sudden cases when people don't want to live, they all would tell you this is happens because they felt lonely and they felt disconnected from life. So those connections and disconnections, we're very connected with emotions. It's good when we are connected, when we engaged, but it's not good when we attached and when we became dependent.
Mhm.
So somehow our natural part was satisfied through those purchases, and it became a habit for us for so many years, so we didn't even pay attention to it. Now we are setting the new values which are connected with environment and the social good as well. Now we are setting the new standards like minimalistic lifestyle, voluntary simplicity lifestyle. We think about, do I use the car this time, or I need to use the bicycle? Do I use the plant-based diet, or I still go as it was? And in many cases, this is healthier. This makes us happier. And this adds the additional layer to our life when we not only within our boxes, but when we connected with other people and the environment. So coming back to your question, this makes us happy.
You know, when I listen to you talk about that, it makes so much sense that we buy something impulsively because it meets an emotional need, and we eat food the same way, right? Food sustains us. We need to eat, but so much of what we eat is sort of, I want to treat myself at the end of the day when I've worked hard. Or, you indulge around addictions, all sorts of addictions to meet an emotional need. So I'm hearing the long-term cure is if we can meet our emotional needs through connection and through relationships, we won't need to buy as much stuff and we won't feel as attracted to it. I think that's just so powerful. And it also ticks a lot of boxes that if we really invest our energy to connect, our mental health will just improve, and so will our relationships. And that's, if we go back to how we survived and thrived as a species, it was as social beings, like you said at the top of the interview. All of this is just really landing for me. Let's talk about your book, The Gift of Sensitivity. So for those of you who are listening, Amber held it up or Elena, your last name is also a first name. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But she's holding it up again, this beautiful, beautiful cover, The Gift of Sensitivity. In it, you describe that you believe that sensitivity is like a superpower, right? And how do you square that with the fact that some people see sensitivity as vulnerability and vulnerability as weakness? So, yeah, what do you say about that?
Yeah. I think it's a common mistake which we adopt, that sensitivity is vulnerability. Actually, sensitivity is the degree of how close we connected with the world. We just spoke about emotional connections. And when I have that emotional connection with the world, my level of sensitivity show how deeply am I connected, right? But traditionally, many empaths and highly sensitive people, I am one of HSPs which was born like this, and I experienced all sorts of, nonsense going through my personal journey. We believe that the world is like that, and we cannot stop sensing the world. Uh, and therefore, we are so vulnerable because of that. But I was done with it at one day, and therefore, I decided that if I want to change something, I need to find my answers within, and I started with 8 years journey. So this journey was about meditation, which was from 2 to 6 hours per day, and I combined meditation with, oh no, I have no the book here, with trauma therapy. Of course, I am trauma therapist myself, and this is very similar to prolonged exposure therapy when you've got emotional connection during the session. So for me, I connected, I sit with myself, and I did the emotional work. Of course, not after the 8 years, much faster. I realized that the more traumas I released, the less layers I have, um, the less vulnerable I became, but I still was sensitive and even increased my sensitivity. I tried different, very interesting things connected with empathy or cognitive empathy. It was interesting for me. Can I feel what person think at that moment, what person feel at that moment? Can I sit with a person during the session, and can I feel the same way the person feels that? Can I help to release their traumas in 20 minutes and 40 minutes? So sensitivity is about how sensitive you are. Vulnerability is how vulnerable you are. Those things are connected, but they're not the same. And you could release your vulnerability from trauma-based work. This will make you more sensitive, but without glimpse of vulnerability.
And so, what is the connection in your mind between sensitivity and empathy, or the difference?
In my perspective, sensitivity is the connection with the world. Empathy is the same, but in the social domain, right? When we speak about empathy, the mean that how deep we connected with other people. Although there is a cognitive empathy, which is personally is very interesting for me. Cognitive empathy is when we connected with a body of knowledge, and this is works related to mystics, to all those researchers which try to connect with the universe and understand how is everything working. I'm fascinated with that and still doing work around that, and hopefully one day we'll be able to channel something interesting towards here. So to me, there is no much difference. The only empathy, this is how we used to term sensitivity in the social domain.
I'm going to put somebody on your radar who's written an article about quantum empathy, talking about how there's vibrational fields in the world and that we can tap into an empathic vibration on a quantum level and that we could elevate humanity's consciousness. Catherine Pavlovich in New Zealand, if you don't know her, I'll send you an article. I think you'll love it.
Okay, thank you.
Can we learn to be more sensitive, just like we can learn to be more empathic?
Interesting question. Very good question. Thank you for that. I'm still trying to investigate. I'm watching all your podcasts and all the brilliant article around empathy topic. Sometimes I really disagree, even angry when people said, you know what, I cannot emphasize with a person anymore because he or she did something or say something. And for me, I'm an empath. I cannot stop my empathy. I cannot stop emphasize. I could be agree or disagree, right? This is fine, but I cannot stop to be an empath. So this is about sympathy. You cannot be sympathetic towards somebody. But I'm still trying to investigate that. In my case, I decided that I cannot learn empathy. I can learn the protocol of a better communication. It will help me to understand others and it will make me better communicator. But I could develop empathy by meaning that empathy is a physical ability of mine. Doing my trauma therapy related work, becoming more sensitive and therefore becoming more empathetic. So my personal experience gave me an answer. No, you cannot learn it, but you could develop that. Right? And I know this is somehow different from the mainstream, but so far, here am I.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, switching gears a little bit, and then I want to also ask you about your new book. We have a couple questions left if you'll indulge then. There's a lot of talk in the world about technology and how we can program AI to be empathic. There's others who believe that once our tech skills actually get eclipsed by faster and smarter machines, that humanity will matter even more, right? So either machines will behave like us, or actually the smarter and faster they get, the more we have an edge over machines. I just wonder where you stand on that issue.
Interesting question. I'm doing my work, right? As many of us. And sometimes I'm sitting and just trying to envision the future because we cannot build the future which we cannot imagine. Sometimes we are doing that together, and there are, pretty established future foresight foundations. They are doing reports. Let's say Dubai Future Foresight Foundation recently released the report that there are measures beyond GDP, and they envision how well-being will be the center of the world. And this is exactly what OECD is doing with their well-being framework developed in 2020. So in my work, I envision the future which is highly technological. I could see that, but this is not technology which is related towards the mechanistic power, towards the machine. This is something which is biotechnology. This is something about white technology, nature-based solutions which help us to thrive. This is when we are. Nobody replaced us, and we didn't replace, fortunately, ourselves. But this is about humanity, which is very technological because we do understand how universe works, and we do understand principles which we're able to apply in our work. So we are like hand in hand. About empathy and AI, I actually did an article and I did a small research about that. In that article, because this person, the Microsoft CEO, I believe, his name is Mustafa Suleyman. I believe in April this year, he announced, he did a TEDx talk, and he said, but we are awaiting of a new digital species. Can you imagine me seeing that headline? I immediately was drawn into it. And those species, and he referred to AI, intelligence, machines. I don't like the term machine. I don't like to call AI the machine. Species, okay, I love it. And he said that they are going to be empathetic, kind, and caring. And I just dive deep into the question. Interesting. Can artificial intelligence could be empathetic, caring, and compassionate? He used the word compassionate. And my understanding, yes, we can teach the machine to do that because of a mainstream understanding of empathy. What is empathy for many of us? Empathy is the ability to know, to feel what do you feel, right? To be in your shoes. But with the technology like our eyes tracking movement, temperature of the skin, our heart rate, or whatever, any biological senses could be transformed into the emotional understanding. And yes, the AI could understand how do we feel. Can we program it to react accordingly? Absolutely. This is how we teach our children to react if we see when somebody angry or out of control. For example, it was a sample somewhere from the article. If you see your wife is angry, don't propose for her the bouquet of a flower, let's say. Can we teach AI to do it? Of course, we can do it, absolutely. But to me, it's more about the empathy types which are connected with our consciousness, or compassionate empathy, because compassion is something which could be learned in this way. So whatever we could learn, anybody could learn, right? But if we think about empathy as a biological based ability, if we think about empathy as I think like I can develop it but not learn it, then it's difficult because AI has no the emotions, has no access to the emotional domain. So you cannot develop anything you have no inside of you, right?
I love the framing of all of this because what it's suggesting to me is I think about one domain in particular where AI could be really useful. If we could get past the sort of robotic sound of a voice and we could maybe, I can't trouble with that word.
Anthropomorphism.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Anthropomorphism, yes.
Yes. So when machines become more human-like, so if let's say we get closer and closer to the natural cadence and expression of a human voice, imagine in a customer care setting, somebody's calling and they need a problem solved, how an AI trained to recognize frustration in our voice could de-escalate things. And I've been the rude person talking to a customer care agent just because I want a solution and I know they're following like their what they're able to do without bumping it up to the supervisor. So I think of, this wonderful opportunity for how AI could be used that way. But then at the same time, I really hear what you're saying. If at a biological level, you call them species, I might refer to them still as machines. We'll see where we land on that. But they cannot create serotonin in their system as we do when we feel emotionally connected. So the cognitive empathy piece, they could probably learn to do because that is something that's teachable, but they can't express connection the way human to human can. So I just really am adoring this conversation with you, Elena. Thank you. Okay, I've a couple more questions. First, I want to just give you a chance to talk about your next book. What is it about? You're sending it to the publisher in November.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for that question. Appreciate that. The book called Emotional Capital for the Triple Win, the people, the planet, and prosperity for all, or universal prosperity. And this is based on my first part of my PhD work and my systematic literature review, where I dive deep into the 76 other researchers' work, trying to understand their intake on the sustainable consumption and impulsive buying behavior. So in this book is very practical. It's done for the business leaders and innovators, and it will summarize 50 ways how we can drive the consumption revolution. And the headline, I can announce that now you are the first official announcement, Anita. But the main line of the book is that in order to build a sustainable life, we need to change ourselves. And complementary to the inner development goals, my book is about business development goals. This is about how business can help consumers to build the future together. So I ask business people, stop to sell and start to build a future with us, with consumers.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. And of course, some people are ahead of the curve on that. Other people are like, what are you talking about? But they're the ones that are going to miss the boat because, like you said, we are moving in that direction already. Oh, I love it. I cannot wait to read it. Good luck getting that across the finish line.
Thank you. June 24th. June 24th is the first day of the 11th Degrowth Conference, which is in Oslo, Norway. And I can't wait when they will open the call for researchers. I want to apply there. I want to present my work there. And it will be the same day my book will be born.
Oh, beautiful. Put that on the vision board for 2025. That's amazing. Okay, penultimate question here. If we pan out, and I know I kind of sense what you're going to lean into, but I want to hear it from you anyways. If we pan out to the larger frame than just the workforce, and just consumer behavior and just business, why is sensitivity in your mind so crucial in the modern world?
Yeah, this is for the simple reason, Anita, because sensitivity is the attribute of a life which when we thrive, right? Humanity used to survive for so many years, decades, and centuries. And I see that as two layers, layer of survival and layer when we can thrive. In between, beautifully put by Amy Edmondson, is a psychological safety, right? So once we feel psychologically safe, we switch into sensitivity, and through sensitivity, becoming more sensitive, becoming more connected, we could thrive by qualities like creativity, innovation, connectedness, acceptance, inclusivity is possible, right? Diversity is on the top. While if we below psychological safety and if we are in the survival mode, I don't need to speak about that. We all know it doesn't look good, doesn't look good.
And I think shame on all of the politicians that are riding on our fear-based impulses instead of uplifting us towards our potential, essentially, and helping create the conditions for us to feel safe and move into that. Right. My last question is always the same, and I never know what I'm going to hear as an answer, so I'm very keen to ask you. I'll ask the question, if you can think of a time in your life when you were on the receiving end of empathy and what that meant for you.
Ooh. I think the most beautiful act of sharing empathy is when we support the other person, right? I think when I can support somebody, especially when the person is not in the higher mode, this is the best of me, and this is the best for the person. And when I think about when cases when we support others, I think those cases are most beautiful when we give opportunities. So when you ask that question, I immediately thought about situation when my colleague gave me opportunity, my peers or somebody, and it happened several times in my life. And I do remember all those cases, and I do think about those people being angels because they gave me this opportunity. They changed the direction of my life or the episode where I was involved. And this is always, doesn't matter how much work did you do in trauma therapy, empathy, sensitivity, but this act when somebody gave you a belief, not even a hand, but simply belief into you, your wings are just open and you can do whatever you want. Coming back to my dissertation and my work, I met such an angel in my life, and it happens that he is a neuroscientist. His name is Paul Zak, and I'm sure you know Paul very well. And he was he part of the episodes you're doing? Yeah. And I found his research and what he's doing and his immersion and a tool which can help us to measure biological, the whole story. And I connected with him and I started to use the tool. A beautiful story, but it's a long one. But one episode, out of the blue, once upon a time, I opened my email and it was a question there. Hi, this is Paul. How are you doing with your research? Let me know if you need my help. Oh my God. I said, Dr. Paul, can we have a conversation? And during the conversation, it was a short one, half an hour. I still remember every single word. I said to him, Dr. Paul, I wrote a book. This is my first one. And I'm looking for somebody from science who can give it a forward. Can you do it? And he said, yeah, sure. Send it to me. Just like that. And, he didn't read the book. He did not know me. Okay, we communicated a little bit. But those acts from strangers who believe in us give so much power, of course. So this is what I wanted to share.
Oh, love that story. Love Paul's work. Love Paul. Love you. I always say it out loud that, the journey of podcasting was not in the plans, but my agent said you need to grow your platform, so you should do something about that. So I thought, okay, let me throw my hat into the podcast ring. And I kid you not, I look forward to these conversations because, we're all busy. And this conversation has really grounded me. I'm sure anybody listening or watching feels like they've just had a break at a spa. Just to be reminded, the little whisper of, look at the complexity of our lives. We can decide to be busy and just kind of do plan B, or we could realign with plan A and follow our bliss and have a purposeful life and be kind to one another and elevate humanity. So thank you so much for taking the time today to chat with me.
Thank you, Anita. When I think about you, the word perseverance came to my mind. This is all about you. You are so much hard working. Every single day you're doing your posts. All the time you're doing the episodes. And this is not for a week or weeks or 1 year. This is consequently every steps all again and again. And I think this is what opens opportunity for other people. I mean, somebody just need to stay there and hold the door. So thank you for holding the door, Anita.
Likewise. Everyone who's been watching and listening, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week at Purposeful Empathy.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to another episode of Purposeful Empathy, a show that is dedicated to amplifying the voices of people from across the globe who understand that the world needs more empathy and are doing something about it. Please now consider subscribing or buying a copy of Purposeful Empathy. Thanks again. Have a great day.